All right, sweet Flatline MMA podcast episode number 69. The kids are back, baby, and we're talking a little UFC Vegas 21. This card had everything. We had controversy. We had massive knockouts. We had comebacks, one-punch KOs. This card had a little bit of everything. Super satisfied with kind of this card all the way around. Let's just dive right into the main card because I thought there was a ton of good fights. Obviously, starting off, we had some controversy at middleweight. Eric Anders taking on Darren, the dentist. Shout out the dentist Stewart. I mean, it was kind of shades of last weekend. Eric Anders, illegal knee, no contest. Obviously, super unfortunate to see that on kind of back-to-back cards. Deemed no contest. Sucks to see. Brutal knee again, back-to-back weekends here. Then kind of moving up here, I know we had some controversy in the flyweight fight. I don't even know how to say these guys' names, so I'm not even going to attempt it. Matthias Nikolai, Manel Kape. I know there's some controversy there with the decision. Nikolai getting it done via decision. I know a lot of people didn't agree with that one. So, again, adding to the controversy of the night. Bantamweight bout, which was a great one to set up, I thought. Jonathan Martinez taking on Davey Grant. Davey Grant coming from behind, KOing Jonathan Martinez. Phenomenal knockout in round two when I thought, and don't get me wrong, Davey Grant did have Martinez rocked at a couple different occasions in the fight, but I thought Martinez was just pushing the pace more, really just pressuring Grant. And Grant comes out of nowhere with just a beautiful, just, I think it was a right hand combo knockout. It was fucking just beautiful to see. So touch a little bit upon that fight because overall, I mean, just great fight.
Yeah, it was a fun fight overall. First round, a lot of action. Like you said, it did seem like it was kind of going Martinez's way after that first round. A little bit more active, a little bit more output. But yeah, Davey Grant, the underdog, getting the knockout victory. It's pretty crazy. I mean, there's so many knockouts on this card. I don't even know who. Do we know who won? Like knockout of the night and all that, or performance of the night? Because there was just so many knockouts that would have won that on any other card. But we had like 3 or 4 insane knockouts.
Yeah, I don't even know if there was I think there was 4 performance of the night bonuses, which brings us into the next fight, featherweight bout. We knew this one was going to be fireworks. I don't think we all thought this outcome was going to happen. Dan Ige taking on Gavin Tucker. Gavin Tucker, last-minute replacement. Dan Ige, a guy who was on a 6-fight winning streak, halted by Calvin Kattar in his last fight, main evented a Wednesday night card on Fight Island. Taking on a guy like Calvin Kattar, nothing to be a sore loser over at all. And Dan Ige coming back with just a vengeance, knocking out Gavin Tucker with, I mean, we talk about one-punch knockouts in the UFC. This was as beautiful as it can get as a knockout. Round 1, 22 seconds into the fight, Dan Ige didn't even break a sweat. Gavin Tucker just out cold. Super impressive by Ige. What'd you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Ige was making his way up the rankings. He looked like he was going to be the next guy in the top 5 to kind of bounce around for that title shot. It seemed like he was right on that trajectory. But, he went up against Calvin Kattar, had a little setback. So I knew he was going to come out hard this fight to get back in the win column. But I had no idea he was going to have that type of knockout. I thought it was going to be more, more output on his end. He was going to kind of pick his opponent apart. That was probably the last thing I was expecting, just a violent knockout like that in the very first round. So that was awesome to see. And yeah, I'm kind of curious to see where he goes from here.
He calls out Korean Zombie, which, my God, I love that fight. Love that fight.
Yep.
Does that fight make sense? And does that fight bring, obviously you got Korean Zombie right now sitting at number 5, Danny Gate number 9. Now, does that fight make sense? Danny Gate coming off of a one-punch knockout win, Korean Zombie, coming off of getting beat up by Brian Ortega. To me, that fight makes sense. And I know there's a few numbers in between those guys, but I think within a performance like that, I don't know how you kind of deny that call out, right? Ige's got the cards in his hands with Korean Zombie coming off a loss. Is that a fight you like to see? Because to me, that has fight of the year written all over it.
Yeah. I think that would be an awesome fight. That's one I'd really like to see. But like we were talking about earlier, I think the better fight to make. So we just had Zombie versus Ortega as pretty much for the number 1 spot, and then we also had on the other side of that Cater versus Holloway, also for that kind of number 1 spot. And the 2 winners of that are, we got Ortega going against Volk.
Yeah.
Seems like Max is going to be kind of in the wings waiting for the winner of that. I almost would like to more see, I'd love the Ige Korean Zombie fight, but I think, both these guys coming off a loss, Cater and Zombie, and both of them being in that position to, kind of be in that number 1 spot. I think that's a fight I would almost like to see a little bit more, because then it puts one of those guys back into the equation once the Volk Ortega fight plays out. Then Max is up next, and then whoever is the winner of Zombie Cater would be after that. But Ige's on. No matter what way you cut it, those are all great fights to make. You can't make a bad fight in this division. There's too many elite guys.
The top 15 in featherweight is just absolutely stacked, and with Ortega and Volk fighting next weekend, a lot of stuff's going to open up, right? And I think that's what this division needed, especially with the back-to-back Holloway Volkanovski fights. I think we're finally going to see some clarity here. We'll review that fight next week for UFC 260. But yeah, man, Ige making a statement, and if you take a look at a couple of the guys in front of him, right, like Jeremy Stevens, Josh Emmett, if they pair him up with him, sign me up for both of those fights. Already fought Cater, and then Korean Zombie would be next in line. So I think it's a fair call out.
Yeah.
So, but I agree. I think Korean Zombie could have a bigger fight on his hands with a Cater. So we'll see what happens there. But again, this featherweight division is just so stacked, and for Ige to make a statement like that and prove that he's still one of the most dangerous dudes in this division. These friggin' Hawaiian guys are just built different, man. Holloway, you got Ige, guys are friggin' savages. So shout out Dan Ige, Dan 50K Ige. Oh, and he got that 50K on Saturday night. So shout out Ige. What a friggin' just great performance. Light heavyweight. Let's just touch upon this real quick, because again, another quick one, back-to-back quick knockouts. Misha Serkinov taking on Ryan Spann. Ryan Spann coming off of a knockout loss to Johnny Walker. We all remember that fight. That was back and forth. They were knocking each other down 3 times, coming back. Ryan Spann, unfortunately, getting the worst end of the Johnny Walker's right hand, but came back with a vengeance, man. KOing Misha Serkinov, a guy who is just durable, who's an absolute savage, getting it done in round 1. Obviously, super impressive performance. Does this kind of put him in title contention, anything like that? No, but that puts Ryan Spann back into the position where he was when he first came into the UFC. A lot of hype, win streak, right? Like this guy was like untouchable. He's a monster. 6'5", this guy is. Absolute, like, if he didn't have that setbacks versus Johnny Walker, man, he would have been set up for that big fight next. Shit happens, but came back big with the statement against a guy like Serkinov, who's, again, durable, super tough, really tough to knock out. So shout out Ryan Spann, great performance. Let's get to the main event. Hate to talk about this one. So excited for this one. Leon Edwards coming back from a little under 2-year layoff. One of the most dangerous men in the welterweight division, right? Taking on Belal Muhammad, who took this fight on short notice. This was supposed to be Khamzat Chimaev, supposed to be a massive fight. You know, what more can you say? It's just so unfortunate when a fight gets stopped via an eye poke, and I think this one was a little bit different, right? This was tough to watch. I think everyone saw the picture of Leon Edwards just finger just under the eyelid of Bilal Muhammad. I don't even know how that happened. Happened I think in the first round, warning again in the second round. Fight ended. Bilal just couldn't continue there, and to be completely honest, one of the more brutal ones I've seen. He actually went down crying, just in pain. They didn't even give him the 5-minute rule. They were just like, I think they gave him like 2.5 minutes, and they were like, yeah, this is done. Thankfully, Bilal tweeted afterwards, no permanent damage, anything like that. But super unfortunate. So I guess break down how you saw the fight kind of in the first round, because I think we did see Leon, I'm not going to say dominate, but he definitely was the aggressor in the first round, definitely won round one. So how do you think he did from coming back from 2 years and what you saw from him? And then obviously the unfortunate ending.
Yeah, I mean, it stinks that we didn't get to see the whole fight play out, because it could have been, a 5-round war. But just based off of what we saw in the first round, I mean, Edwards looked sharp. It
Yep.
didn't look like there was any ring rust, any type of stamina issues. That it came in shape. His technique has always been, second to none. Put Muhammad in some trouble in that first round, kind of
Yep.
wobbled him a little bit. I think it was a head kick that did it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then second round, it was early in the second round, he goes for, I think it was a kick to the body, but he also reached out with his hand, and that's when the eye poke happened. So we didn't get to see a whole lot of the fight. There's 5-round fights, anything can happen, but it did look like Edwards was winning the fight up to that point. But yeah, unfortunate, and hope that Muhammad comes back soon and can make a full recovery and doesn't have any type of vision issues after this.
Yeah, I'm hoping he gave a message afterwards. It says no permanent damage. Who knows though? I mean, that was tough. I mean, he was just bleeding from his eye. It was tough to see. And Bilal's one of the toughest guys in the UFC. For him to take that fight, I know he had really nothing to lose in that fight, but for him to step up on short notice when he just fought last month against the guy who's so good, like Leon Edwards is so good. I think people sleep on him because he's not as active, but one of the toughest guys in the game, and to see him go down like that and just start screaming and crying and the fight ending like that, I think we were all in store for a banger there. How do you feel about Leon Edwards coming out afterwards and basically saying, I think we know how that fight was going. Let's just say I'm on a 9-fight win streak, and I should be fighting for the title. Like, do you agree with that? Or do you think, like, do they have to rematch? Does he need to fight like a Colby first? Like, who? I was just so like pissed at the main event, like what happened. Like, I kind of didn't take a step back to think about what should be next. But like, does Belal deserve a rematch or no? Like, does Leon deserve to be in title contention now? Like, it was a no contest. It doesn't go towards his rec. Like, it's not a win, it's not a loss, but it's like it's so tough the position he's in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily agree with him counting that as a win. We've seen so many fights where you see the tide completely change in the 4th and 5th round. There's endurance issues. There's sometimes people switch up their game plan and go for takedowns. It's the fights completely change, 15, 20 minutes in. First round, whatever, he got it. He put Muhammad in some trouble. But who's to say that he was going to win rounds 2 through 5 or even get a finish in any one of those rounds? So I wouldn't be calling that a win if I were in that position. But I think you do have to give Muhammad the respect to have that rematch. He took the fight on short notice. It was a good card, but he saved the main event. Edwards has been out for a long time. He's had a tough time trying to find an opponent. Muhammad was one of the only guys that was going to step up. I mean, even Edwards said that. He said that I think there were two other opponents. I know he said Covington. They were trying to get the Covington fight done, and that Covington wouldn't take it. And then obviously Chimaev kept on falling through. And I think there was another one in there. But yeah, I think you have to give Belal the respect to run that one back. I mean, the guy's facing a pretty serious injury, took the fight on short notice, and I don't know. I feel like it's just owed to him.
Yeah, and I also don't feel like, I mean, 100%. It was 1-0 Leon going into the second round, but it wasn't like a complete domination. You know,
Yeah,
the head kick wobbled him. He was definitely putting the pressure on. But like you said, I mean, we don't know what Leon's cardio was going to look like after round 3, right? He's been out for 2
yeah,
years, and Belal just fought a month ago. He's got the fresh gas tank, right? And I mean, I don't know. I think I agree with you. I think a rematch is definitely warranted. It's just like I feel like for someone like a Leon who's like on an 8, let's just call it an 8-fight win streak
yeah,
beforehand, right? Like that is super impressive.
yeah. No,
And
it is.
like, should he have been fighting Bilal Muhammad? Absolutely not. But again, kudos to him, to Leon, for actually taking that fight, taking that risk. But I agree with you. I think a rematch is warranted. I mean, you got guys like Colby Covington who like kind of called him out and was like, for the right money, I would do it. But he's Leon's not at the point where like people are calling him out. Like no one really wants to fight Leon because he's just not, he's on that 8-fight win streak, but like Usman already beat him, right? So is that fight appealing? Yeah, I mean, that was a long time ago, but like, I mean, to me, he's just not a fighter that like moves the needle. So I don't think people care that much. He's so good, but now I feel like this fight just put a bad taste in everyone's mouth. So it's like prove to everyone, beat Muhammad, and then you're right in line for the shot because you know what's going to happen, right? I feel like whatever's going to happen in this picture, tomorrow, Colby rematch, Colby, Jorge, like whatever's happening next, there's just so many other things that need to happen before Leon Edwards gets a title shot. So I think, does it make sense to rematch again? Probably not, but like he's not going to get the next shot anyway. It doesn't matter. It's either going to be Colby or it's going to be Jorge. Like that's how I feel, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and two, like think about all the fights that have ended in no contest or a DQ. They've always, or for the most part, they run those back.
Yeah.
Like we just saw the Sterling Yan fight. They've immediately after they said that they're going to run that fight back. They're not making another fight. I mean, that was a title fight, so it's a little bit different of a
Yeah.
circumstance. Um, but even like the Magomed and Goliath fight with
Mm-hmm.
Cutelaba. Remember when they called the fight out
Oh
of
yeah.
nowhere? They thought Eon was wobbled and whatever.
Yep.
They ran that back because that was a mistake,
Mm-hmm.
And I think this kind of falls under the same umbrella. I mean, no one's really at fault. The eye pokes happen. It wasn't intentional. Uh, but I don't know how Leon goes to a title fight right after this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he does have the 8-fight win streak and all that, but it would have been nice to see after an almost 2-year layoff, him get a decisive victory and then, go for the title. This, I don't think it really helps his case. I mean, he had one round where he looked really good, um, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's tough for him. He's in such a tough spot, coming off a 2-year layoff, ready to prove that he's back. He's going to run this division, and for like just that accident to happen, and like it is so tough. And you got to feel for both of those guys, especially Bilal, who like stepped up, and that was like his chance. And a guy who's been clawing at the top 10, top 5 for so many years now. For that to end like that for both guys is definitely tough. So I don't know. I feel like Dana like hasn't like touched upon like what's happening next with that. So I'm curious to hear like if they're going to run that back. And I don't think Leon's going to accept it. I really don't. I think he's going to be like, I'm number 3 in the world still. It's just tough for me to take that fight again, take that risk again when, I could probably fight a guy like, even though I think he kind of brushes off Wonder Boy, because who the fuck wants to fight Wonder Boy? He's just an absolute nightmare matchup for everyone. Um, so I don't know. We'll see what happens there, man. Obviously, not the main event that I think we all thought. Me and you were in shock. I think everyone was just kind of pissed that that happened, but it is what it is. Overall, great card. Not the ending everyone wanted, but UFC Vegas 21, solid event. Dana White, again, shout out for just making these events better and better each time. And then let's just do a quick preview of the main event this weekend. UFC Vegas 22. We got the man, the myth, the legend, Kevin Holland, taking on Derek Brunson. Kevin Holland, as we know, tied the record for most wins in a calendar year. We had, what was it, 5 in 2020? He went off 4 finishes, I believe, taking on Derek Brunson, who's coming off of, I'm not going to say the biggest win of his career, but derailing the Edmund Shabazian hype train, just putting on an absolute clinic, TKO and Edmund, getting him back on track, 3-fight win streak. Both these guys, man, I feel like very similar styles. And this is such a hard fight to pick. Kevin Holland with just so much momentum coming into 2021. I mean, this guy says he wants to fight another 5 times this year. And him starting in March definitely helps his case. This is such a fun fight. Brunson's so good, so athletic, but Kevin Holland has that confidence. And I don't know if I can have a bet against him after what I saw, what he did to Jacare. I mean, he's coming off of just one of the most spectacular knockouts you're ever going to see, capping off 2020, the great year the UFC had. But having that knockout, God, that the momentum heading into this year, and his hype train is just so high right now. Break down this fight for me. I'm curious to hear who you got in this.
Yeah, like you said, Holland has so much momentum behind him right now. It's hard to bet against him. He's been one of the most active fighters in the UFC, and he's winning, and he's getting highlight reel finishes. But then you get Derek Brunson, who's just he's so tough. And in his last fight, I think the strategy that he had with Shabazian, where he's put him up against the cage and kind of threatening the takedown and then backing off and letting off some punches and then coming right back in. I think that type of game plan will work out pretty well for, the matchup he has with Holland. I think if he stays at range with Holland, Kevin's got so many different kicks, and he's got some pretty good karate, and his hands are wicked fast too. So I don't think he's going to want to stick around and try to slug it out with him for too long. But if he takes him down too, Holland's got a great jiu-jitsu game, and we've seen that in his first fight with Santos. He was threatened. I mean, he lost the fight and he was getting taken down, but he did threaten Santos a few times with a couple different submission attempts from the bottom. So I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna pick Holland in this one just because he's got the momentum behind him. I think he's gonna know that the takedown is probably the biggest threat, and he's gonna have to game plan for that. And I think he's also gonna take the lessons from the Shabazian fight, where you see Brunson kind of pin him up against the cage and then back off and let off some punches and try to come back in. So I'm sure he'll game plan for that as well. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Holland, and I'm gonna make a bold prediction. I'm gonna say knockout.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, man, it's tough to, like I said before, it's tough to bet against Kevin Holland when you win 5 fights in a calendar year and do them it wasn't like he just won 5 decisions. 4 of them were knockouts. The last one being against a guy in Jacare Souza who had him on the ground as well. I don't think anyone expected Holland to put up a fight on the ground, and he did. He got out of some uncomfortable positions and then ultimately knocked out Jacare in a position that, like, I think everyone thought he was screwed in. Um, so I don't know if I can bet against him. I think he's getting better and better. I think he's backing up all the talk. I think he's going to start, picking his shots, and then I'm going to agree with you on this one. I think he's going to knock out Brunson, and Brunson's one of those guys. Like, I hate to say like the gatekeeper types, but like think about the people he's fought. Right, you got guys like Israel Adesanya who beat Brunson and then got those big fights. Right, so like this is a big fight for Holland. If he wins this, I think people are going to be like, this kid's the real deal. And that would put him in. Where would he be? So he's number 10 right now. Yeah, so this would propel him honestly into like some big fights, right? And I think we're looking at maybe like I don't know, I'm looking at that like Till Marvin Vittori fight. And I'm like, I don't know, that could be like a good for the winner, or maybe like the loser gets home. Like, I don't know if he wins, but who knows? There's so many fun fights for him if he does win this. Will I be surprised if Brunson just wins a decision? No, of course not, because Brunson's a dog. He's fought everyone in the division. I feel like he's disrespected it a lot of times, so I think he's going to come in with a chip on his shoulder. 3-fight win streak, just took out Shabazian, the undefeated Shabazian, when he was a massive underdog in that fight. So I'm excited to see this fight. I think we're going to see a war. And then I really am curious to see what like Holland's made of in those later rounds as well. Because I feel like that's something that I definitely want to see main event time for him. Like, I'm excited. So I'm going to go. I think it's going to be Kevin Holland as well, be a knockout. I think he's going to put on a flawless performance, but I think it's going to be a war for a couple rounds because Brunson's tough. You don't just get Brunson out of there in 1-2 rounds. It's tough to do that. So let's go. This is going to be a great main event. A few other just fights to just quick shout outs here. Gregor Gillespie coming back from, his Kevin Lee knockout back in UFC 244. Obviously, super scary knockout. We haven't seen him since then. Taking on Brad Riddell. That's going to be a great fight. Gregor's obviously still one of the most dangerous dudes in the lightweight division. I was undefeated coming into that Kevin Lee fight. Was winning that Kevin Lee fight until that head kick. So we all know what he's made of. Again, on the co-main event there, that's just going to be absolutely fire. Real quick, because this is kind of like developing news. Ariel Helwani said that it's not official yet, but I just want to get your thoughts real quick. Came out and said they are working on Gaethje Chandler. And that one just gets me so happy. And I just want like early predictions. Like, this fight's not even announced yet, but like, first of all, that's one hell of a fight. That's violence written all over it. And I'm going out on a whim here, and I hate to say this. I'm going Chandler on that one. I don't know why, but I'm going Mike Chandler.
Yeah, I mean, so they're both pretty in my mind anyway. They're similar fighters where they both get the wrestling background, crazy knockout power in their hands, and I think it's just going to be. I think that would be a stand-up battle. I don't think either of them would try to shoot. I think they'd both be going for the knockout. I think the real difference is Gaethje's leg kicks, because we've seen that affect Chandler before. And I forget the fight that happened where his leg just kind of gave out on him. It was one of his Bellator fights.
Yeah, it was against Primus, the title fight. Yep, Brett Primus.
Yeah, so that's just something he would have to be really careful of. But both of them have the skill and power to knock each other out. They're both in great shape, so it'd be a high-paced fight. I don't know.
It's tough. But I just see like, man, it was so hard to. I mean, I bet against Chandler in the last fight, and he just proved me wrong. And like, I'm not saying the Gaethje fight, the Khabib fight changed Gaethje at all, but God, Chandler looks so good. And he's fucking just so big and just powerful, and like, but Gaethje's chin, man, it's just so tough. It's so tough to bet against Gaethje with that chin,
Yeah, I mean, Gaethje's game has developed too, because like, if this fight were to have taken place a few years ago, where Gaethje was a little bit more, not reckless, but more are less defensive minded.
Yeah.
I think that kind of sways into Chandler's favor, but with how we've seen him come out against Ferguson, a lot more composed, picking his shots, just kind of controlling the chaos a little bit, makes him a really dangerous fighter. And I don't know, man. That's an awesome fight.
Yeah.
That one's so tough to pick. That's so tough to pick.
It's just such a good fight. And that, again, that's a fight that, like, when you're in a division and the top 5 fights each other, like, that's what I love to see. Like, that is like Mike Chandler proved himself. He took on Dan Hooker, who is so tough, who just went 5 rounds with Poirier, a fight of the year candidate, and knocks him out. Just knocks him out clean. No fluke, nothing there that you could say, okay, it's probably going to be Poirier Oliveira or Poirier McGregor for the belt next. However, they're playing this out. Okay, Mike Chandler not shying away, taking on just the biggest savage in the division, Justin Gaethje. To me, love that. That's like newfound respect. If you didn't like Mike Chandler before, I can tell you, you take a fight against Justin Gaethje, you get newfound respect there. So because that's a fight that you don't just like ask for, you know what I mean? You want to take years off your life, you fight Justin Gaethje, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be unreal. I don't know the details. I just saw a quick report that it is developing, that it's in talks. Who knows? I'm assuming they're probably going to try to make that on whatever lightweight title fight / Conor Poirier trilogy. I'm assuming they're going to have to do it because I think that sets a pretty good storyline. So we'll see what happens there, man. But just some developing news there. So what else we got, buddy?
Actually, last night I was playing around on YouTube and I saw there's this fight league called I think it's XKO, where Kevin Holland and Jeff Neal used to fight, and they fought each other in a small promotion before getting into the UFC.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
who won?
Holland won by TKO. I think it was third round. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Yeah, it was like a square ring with the cage. So I had like sharp corners all around. It was kind of weird, but it's on YouTube if you want to look it up. But
I'm gonna check that out. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, cool.
Shout out Kevin Holland, who's just taking names before the UFC. A guy like Jeff Neal too. That guy takes souls.
Yeah.
So to TKO Jeff, Jeff Hands of Steel Neal, that's impressive. So guys, so much good shit coming in the next couple weeks. We're going to do our breakdown of UFC 260 next weekend. We got 2 title fights, baby. We got the featherweight strap on the line, and then we got the rematch heavyweight strap on the line. Stipe Miocic versus Francis Ngannou 2. I literally cannot wait to preview this fight card. I am so excited. It's going to be bananas. Guys, go to our website, www.flatlinemma.com, for all your flatline needs. Blog posts. We're going to up our game with that. Go to our Insta. We're blowing up, about to hit 14,000 on Insta. Click that subscribe button on this YouTube. Trying to grow a YouTube channel. Trying to do these shorter clips. Hope you guys like that. Subscribe. Share it with your friends. Share it with your families. Go buy some merch. Do whatever you can to support the boys so we can put out the best content humanly possible. And until next time, Flatline MMA. Peace.